morning. Oh, I'm so excited. Am I looking in the wrong direction? There's the camera. I'm so used to having the phone up, and I was trying to do it sideways today for Angela. Saturday morning, day before Easter. Kind of nice about that. Oh, guest reviews. Okay. Wait for Angela to come on. And I'm talking with Angela Thatcher this morning. So, for those of y'all who know me or don't know me, I have struggled with health, weight, really probably since I was in college, I think, was the first time that I noticed I couldn't eat as much as I wanted without gaining weight. So maybe in college it was like, oh, I weighed 125. I better work on that because I had always been 105 or whatever. Hi, Wendy. Yeah, we just did a cooking video with my subscribers. And graduate school, it was 144. Then you got married and got back down to 130 and then had children. After my second one, got back to 144. Third one, got back to 157. Fourth one, gotten down to 152 once on Optavia. But generally, lose some weight and then I'll gain some weight back. And so I've been doing this for a really long time, which I think probably a lot of men and women would say that. And I've always been a big eater, always liked to eat a lot. Hi.
Hello.
Turn sideways.
Oh, turn sideways today.
Yeah.
You figured out how to do that.
Well, to do it, I just struggle with remembering.
Okay. All right. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good. So this is my friend Angela Thatcher. Angela, tell them the name of your business.
Lifelong Health and Wellness.
Lifelong Health and Wellness. Angela is a PA and an old friend of mine, and she is specializing in obesity medicine. So I'm just sort of giving them the lowdown about me and where I am now. So this had been a struggle. Well, I was doing a campaign with MedIQ and this physician from Harvard, and Angela reached out and was like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of studying under her doing this program. And it really blew my mind. I was like, I've always thought I was chubby because I had no willpower and just was a pig, basically. And then to hear this, like, obesity is a disease, you know, how your brain works, it was so freeing to me. And Angela was like, I'm going to start a business. I wasn't quite ready to start. So really our paths aligned and we kind of started together. And I think, Angela, it's been about 6 weeks for me. Do you know?
Yeah, that's about right. We started
6 weeks.
talking at the beginning of February, but I think you kind of started in earnest about 6 weeks ago.
Okay. And so if you live in North Carolina, you can have Angela work with you. If you do not, Angela encourages people to go to this. Is it obesity? What's the website, Angela, where they can find a provider?
It's obesitymedicine.org.
Obesitymedicine.org. So anyway, it's been great. And so Angela has been doing a weekly subscriber video with my subscribers, which is great. And we just kind of pick a topic and talk about, and lots of my subscribers, I think, are patients or clients. How many do you have?
Let's see. I haven't checked recently, but I think we're at probably at least 50 or so of your folks.
Yay. And has everybody, what's your kind of, how many people do you feel like sort of start it and then are like, forget it?
Not many. There's, and honestly, no one has been like, forget it. I've had a couple of people who've said, I just need, I have this going on. I'm a little busy right now. Let me check back in a few weeks. But trying to keep, in communication overall with everybody.
Right. Yes, we will. Somebody share the link on the page, I guess. Well, I will say, Angela and I talk and we do subscriber videos, but it has been such a game changer for me. Angela doesn't even know this, but I quit smoking on Sunday.
Yay!
And I had a sip of Pepsi or Coke or slushy since Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sort of foul, but I have realized I'm still fun. I was thinking I'm not going to be fun anymore. I'm just going to be like this, hermit who has nothing to talk about. But I've kind of gotten past that. I do have more energy. It's annoying. And so it's been good. I've exercised. How many times have we exercised this week, Honor? 3 times this week. We have taken good walks. I mean, it's like I'm a different person.
That is awesome. Isn't it
I
cool how like you start one little change and then it makes you feel good about doing one more little change, and it's
Yeah,
just about kind of getting turned in the right direction.
yes, and you've done such a good job with that. So when I started everybody, it was like we talked about intermittent fasting one week, and I had always thought that was just sort of a scam. And Angela's like, no, that's actually like breakfast means break your fast. I was like, okay, so that's an okay thing to do. Did that, went off my Zoloft, switched to Wellbutrin, and lost 10 pounds in the first, I don't know, few weeks without medicine. Now I have been on Saxenda for 3 weeks, and I give myself a daily shot, and which doesn't hurt because I had a C-section, I guess. And that, if anything, I think has been making sure that I'm eating enough because
Okay.
I'm really not that hungry, you know?
Okay.
And honestly, for me, I don't even know what a normal amount to eat is because it's, I mean, I really am saying that serious. I've always eaten probably like, I don't know, 10,000 calories a day. So for me, I don't even know
Wow.
what you're supposed to eat. I mean, I'm just
Gotcha.
guessing. Maybe, I mean, if I looked at my food journal and then went to McDonald's and counted calories, it probably is a lot. But so I think that's going to be our subscriber topic next week is really
Okay.
a what does a weekly input amount look like, you know?
Okay. That sounds good.
But tell us kind of how you got interested in this and why it speaks to you.
Okay. So you said that already that I'm a PA, and I was working in primary care and in family medicine. And really quickly, I realized that the way our medical system is set up right now is really more to manage chronic disease than to try to help people to get healthier, or to prevent chronic disease. And part of that is, how it's set up in terms of how long we're allowed to have, with each patient, which is, most of you, if you've been to an appointment, a lot of times that's 15 minutes, on a good day. But there's also just not a lot of focus on education and that on those topics in medical school for PAs or NPs or doctors. And so in trying to help patients make some changes, I started seeking out additional education and was able to find the Obesity Medicine Association and began training with them. And it was really exciting, kind of like you shared, to be able to look at things a bit differently, um, and start to understand all the different factors that play into promoting weight gain, but also in making it complicated, to help with weight loss. And my brain is a very like, I like to look at the big picture and all the factors and problem solve. And so I think this appeals to me, the idea of being able to sort of understand what's going on and how we got to where we are, and then what little pieces we can start to change to move in the direction we want to go in. So I started incorporating that into my practice there, and really enjoyed watching patients, change their life. If you can lose 80 pounds, 100 pounds, or even 40 pounds, a lot of times that means the difference between having to be on a list of medications, or how much you're hurting when you're walking, or how are you able to sleep well at night, and being able to just help people to really change, their day-to-day lives and their trajectory of their life in terms of their health was just one of the most rewarding things. And so during the pandemic, I saw even more so what an effect our overall health had on how we fared through COVID. You know, in the beginning, especially the patients who we lost and who really, really struggled and who were in the hospital for extended periods of time were people who were obese or had you know, illnesses like diabetes and hypertension and all of these things. And so it became even more clear how important it was that we not just learn how to, you know, manage different you know, labs and get things into normal limits with medicines, but actually help people to get healthy. And there's so much out there on the internet that it's kind of hard to sometimes decipher, you know, what of this is actually helpful, what of this is real. And so I was really excited to have the chance over the last few months to start this business where I can focus on that, you know, exclusively. And I've been excited to have the chance to be a part of your journey, but also just to kind of talk and share with people, even that aren't necessarily my patients, but that it gets given me a place where I can share some good information.
Because you care, it's your passion.
Yeah, it is.
And I think that I feel the same way. I like to talk about things that maybe doesn't like benefit me. It's not like you're getting paid, or it's just because you love it and you want to share. And I think as I've done it, and people will say, well, have you tried this or you tried that? Like, I've tried so many things. And what struck me was, if what you're doing doesn't work for 5 years, then it's not the thing to do. And that could have saved me a lot of time, you know, because and if you can do something, so if Weight Watchers works for you and you can do it for 5 years, then I say go for it. You know, like if you have found something that, and there are people that, you know, they post them on the cover of People magazine and they lost 100 pounds by exercise. We know that that is very rare, but if it works for you, then have at it. So I think it's kind of this way of saying, you got to figure out what works for you. But I do think that I am probably more of a average person when it comes to weight, of lose some, gain it back and a little more, lose some, gain it back and a little more. Eat when you're stressed, eat for a reward, eat because you feel like it, eat because there's a pandemic, eat, you know. And my brain, it's not Adrian, it's Adrian's brain kind of saying, no, 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 where I say, now that I've been taking Saxenda, which for me has been part of the process, drinking water, cutting out sugar, intermittent fasting. And like last night, I had a cheeseburger and French fries. I didn't eat the whole cheeseburger. I didn't eat all the French fries. I had water. And I like that. I like that I could go out with my family to a burger place and have a burger, you know, to me. But before, it would have been like, well, I might have had two. And for lunch, breakfast, I would have had a sausage, egg, and cheese. So it's just kind of being aware of what I put in my body. For lunch, I had carrots and hummus and tuna and avocado, you know, and not to be thin, because honestly, at this point, Angela, I feel like the thinner I get, I'm just going to look old as hell.
It does fill out the wrinkles a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. So if I were thin, I should have done it at 30. Like, I'm 47. I have passed I'm at the old stage, but I do want to be healthy. And I want, like last week, the Special Olympics, I ran down the track and I wasn't winded and I didn't feel totally self-conscious that I looked like a bowling ball, you know? And I mean, granted, I was 186 when we started, and I'm 172-ish. I weigh every day. Yesterday I was 171, but Angela had said, you know, that's a good thing to do. Like, unless you have some kind of eating issue, which clearly I do not. That's been good, because it's kind of like, well, it's almost like my numbers on Facebook, honestly. So I have this subscriber group and my numbers go up and they go down, then they go up, they go down. So they're always kind of going up, or my weight is going down, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not a perfect slope,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's okay.
And I hadn't thought about that. That's a good parallel for you to think about with the numbers, that it's more about sort of the trend instead of, just the day-to-day up and down.
Yeah, and that's okay. I don't know.
I think
And the
when you're
measuring,
talking about, go ahead.
mm-mm, I've been doing that measuring once a month.
Hmm.
And this past month, it wasn't that different, though there were a few areas that it was like there was an inch. But, I measure my face. Angela laughs at me, but I measure like my nose, my head. I mean,
Hmm.
just because, and, but anyway, progress in different ways.
Hmm. Well, I think that's it, right? When you say it's not necessarily about being thin, it's about being healthy. And I think we all have different motivations when we think about, the wanting to lose weight. And it's really important to take some time to figure out what those motivations are for you. Because I can help you with 12 different ways how we can lose weight, but ultimately, it's your why that really makes the biggest difference as to whether we're going to be successful in the long run. Because if it's a very short term goal, like I want to fit into a size whatever pants, or I want to lose 20 pounds for this one event, then that's not going to get you where you want to be long term. But if it's more about like, I don't want to have to be on, this, and this medicine, or I want to be able to run with my kids, or I want to be able to travel and feel comfortable on an airplane, or, it's kind of about looking at what things are important to you, where you feel like you're kind of headed right now, and is that where you want to go later in life. I think, when you're in your 40s, I was actually talking with a friend this morning that you kind of do start to think a little bit more about like how you want to age. I don't think I thought about that a whole lot when I was younger, but I think about now, like what do I want? What do I want my retirement to look like? I want to be able to be really active and travel and not be, slowed down by by having issues with my knees or my hips, or, being
Mhm.
able to keep up with grandkids. And so you start to think about like, how do I want my retirement to look like? What do I want aging to look like? And we don't have
Right,
control over how many days we get in general. That's well out of our control. But we do have a
right.
lot of control over what kind of quality we have in those days. So that's the part that I want to focus on.
Yeah, and I hadn't even thought of that. I've been thinking of like, what do I want today to look like? Or,
Hmm.
the exercise thing has been interesting to me. Just because it's that I'm so streaky. Like I'll go years and not exercise, and then anyway, I'm not quite to the point of like, oh, I need to exercise, but I have enjoyed it, and maybe that's given me energy too. I'm still feeling a little bit tired from the sugar business, no sugar stuff.
Hmm.
Um, because that's a big change. I think my body's like, what are you doing to me?
But in the long run, I think you're gonna feel like you have a lot more control over it, taking a break.
Right, right. And I don't miss it. Somebody said, why'd you give up that and cigarettes together? Well, the two things go together for me, slushies and cigarettes. So to give up one, I had to give up the other because I can't do one without the other. So I guess in a way that's kind of good. Yes, Russell? Oh. Um, Somebody asked, and I think this is an interesting question. They said, how long can you take the shots? So how long can I take the shots?
Well, the truth is that there's not really a limit on how long you can take the shots. Part of what I think looking at obesity as a disease means is that in the past, a lot of people have, well, and even I guess presently, a lot of people look at it as like, I'm going to do this thing that I'm doing, whether it's a medicine or a diet, until I get to this point where things are where I want them to be, and then I'm going to stop doing it. And we wouldn't really do that with any other disease that we deal with. Like, we would never treat your blood pressure until we got it down to normal, and then be like, okay, well, we got it to normal, now stop all your medicine.
You're good.
Or
Right.
with somebody who has depression, we would never like say, okay, well, we got you to a good place where now you can sleep again and you're not crying all day, so stop your medicine. Like, if
Right.
that's part of a tool of how we're getting to where we're getting to, then the goal would not be to stop it as soon as you reach, your goal. For some people, that means that they stay on those medicines much more long term. For other people, it might mean that they stay on them for a while in order that they can kind of maintain and stabilize where they are, and keep that for a while before they think about, do they want to try to come off of those medicines. But I think you have to look at it as, this is a very lifelong thing. Getting to a particular goal isn't necessarily the end. Like, it will be a process to maintain that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, so I guess I'm thinking about, okay, well, if I've stopped drinking sugar drinks,
Mm-hmm.
started exercise, getting to my goal weight, of those things automatically are going to help me, and so then it's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of figuring out by maintain. And I guess you and I have talked about this. I don't really know I don't have a goal weight.
Mm-hmm.
I am almost the 160s. I'm sort of in the like decade range. I was in the 180s, getting ready to hit the 160s. I'm excited about that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, I don't have an end goal. How do you know where you should be? How do I know when I'm there?
Well, I think I like to think about the idea of like a happy, healthy weight. So, we want to find the weight that is a healthy weight for you. And there are some things we can use as indicators for that. BMI is one, it's a little bit flawed. There are other things that you can look at in terms of like body fat percentages. But I think, otherwise, we also can look at, how do you feel? Or, how are things going related to your blood pressure and your cholesterol and your, blood sugars. There's a lot of things that we can kind of use to find that picture, but it's not just going for some ideal weight that, puts you on a chart in a certain point. But I think the happy part, and it's, I actually heard this first from Dr. Stanford that you talked about earlier in the video. It's about finding a weight where your healthiest weight, where you are happy being there. And what that
Okay.
means is you can maintain what it takes to be there. Because, I mean, all of us have probably done something in the past where we were able to lose a certain amount of weight to chase some particular number, but we were miserable. And so that we was never going to be something we were going to continue to stay there,
Right.
because you can't eat
Right.
nothing but egg whites and grapefruit forever.
Yeah. 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 That weight for me, I think the last time it was that weight was 125. Like I could stay at 130, 135 fine, but 125 I was like really proud that it said 125, but
Hmm.
it was not doable
Yeah.
for me long term.
Like, if,
And now
right.
as you get older, weight get higher, or is that just, am I wrong?
Well, inherently, we do gain some weight just as we age, and overall, that's not necessarily a bad thing within some parameters. But yeah, what the weight you could maintain when you were in your 20s is not going to be the same weight that would be a healthy, happy place for you to be now.
Okay. And so I was 130 when we got married, which was I was at a pretty
Hmm.
good spot there. But the last time I lost weight and really felt well, maybe 150, 145. So I'm just curious to see where I'm gonna end up, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Hey, I had an idea because I know that on your
oh,
big page, there's not as many folks that necessarily are all in North Carolina that I could help. And then there's obviously some folks that aren't on your subscriber page. And I have people
Yes.
that will reach out and say, like, what can I do? So would it be okay for me to share a few little things that I think would generally be helpful
Yes.
for anybody who's trying to work? Okay.
So
So,
Angela is, if you're just tuning in, Angela Thatcher has been doing weekly videos with my subscriber group. She's an obesity expert in North Carolina, sees clients, patients, and I wanted her on the big page today because I want people to have access to her and what she has to share. So her link is you can find her via Facebook or Instagram. I put the link in my top of my video. So you're welcome to see that. But yes, thank you, Angela. That'd be awesome.
okay. So in general, we've talked about how weight loss can be very complex and there's lots of factors that play into it. But there are a few common things that I think would be helpful for anybody if you're trying to work on things, either on your own or even if you're working with somebody more like me who's helping you out and giving you some guidance. One I think would be considering making a food log of some kind, whether that's on a piece of paper, or if it's using apps. And there are lots of free ones out there that you can use. MyFitnessPal and Lose It are probably a couple of the most common. And though I think you can pay for a part of that service, they work as a free service as well. And what's helpful about that is just starting to take stock of what you're eating day to day, because most of us are not really giving that a whole lot of thought. It's not a very conscious, planned out thing in terms of what we're eating. So what we're starting to do with things like trackers is to move towards mindful eating, and that's something that you could look up. There are podcasts and books and all kinds of resources, but mindfulness in general, I think, is helpful for people who are working on all kinds of things in their life. But especially it can be helpful related to working on on weight loss in general. And that's going to be something that would be helpful whether you have chronic medical issues or you are, just working on changing some emotional eating patterns. In addition to that, I think it can be helpful. You talked about exercise. Exercise can be beneficial, but I think it's the most important to think about just the idea of general physical activity. Our society, if we look at like rates of obesity in our society, they've really skyrocketed over the last few generations. And when you look at it like on a graph where you see it really take off, coincides with, for one, changes related to the foods that we eat, like sugar bean and everything, and specifically high fructose corn syrup, but also related to us becoming more and more sedentary. We don't have to put as much effort into doing day-to-day physical tasks as we used to. And a lot of us don't have to walk anywhere anymore. I was just in New York City the last week, and it was amazing to me how many steps that I got every day, just walking here and there and yonder. And I try to get a certain amount of steps. Do what?
You weren't exercising. You were just living.
I was just living and walking. And at home, I have to get up and like go for a walk early in the morning in order to, end up at like 10,000 steps a day. When I was there, we were getting like 25,000 steps a day. And that was just going around and, visiting places we wanted to visit and walking from here to there. And so I think it's important to think about just like how much do you move in general, specifically because a lot of us have started working from home during the pandemic, and that really has changed probably how much activity you get, and you might not have even realized it. So things like Apple Watches or Fitbits or other fitness trackers can be really helpful. with that, just to kind of get an understanding of how much are you moving day to day, and then that can let you make some little goals. So if you see you're only getting 2,500 steps a day, then look at it and say, okay, next week I'm going to make sure I get 3,000, and then when I get 3,000, I'm going to make sure the next week that I get 3,500. And you can kind of make some incremental goals for yourself in that way. One thing I will caution people about is that fitness trackers tend to way overestimate how many calories we burn. So if you are using your fitness tracker and pairing it with an app like MyFitnessPal or Lose It, where it starts to give you more, it'll say like you have this many more calories to eat today because of your activity. Just ignore that, because you don't need it. Just, kind of come to understand what a normal amount of, what your calorie intake should be for the day, and then just kind of stick with that. Because if you're just doing general activity, for most of us, we don't need to compensate by adding more food. If you're like a serious athlete and you're, working out and you're really doing some things related to, lifting and endurance work, then yes, you do need somebody to help you decide how much more to eat. But if your Fitbit tells you that you get 300 extra calories just because you made it to 10,000 steps, that's probably not really helpful for you in the long run.
That makes
so those are just a few things I had in mind. And then one other thing, and this is kind of a developing pet peeve of mine, is when you go looking on the internet for resources, be really careful about people who call themselves a health coach, because right now I am seeing a lot of people who are calling themselves a health coach, but what they really are is selling a product. Their only authority or qualification for promoting whatever it is they're promoting is the fact that they paid some fee to join a multi-level marketing company. And I think a lot of them genuinely believe that what they have tried works for them and they want to share that with other people. But I have a problem with them calling themselves health coaches, because I think it's manipulative and misleading, because it implies to other people that they have some kind of background that allows them to give advice about, medical conditions and what would be best for you from a health perspective. And really what they're selling you is a supplement or a shake or a diet program. And you just need to be able to kind of keep that in perspective, that term health coach, there are some genuine people out there who have a background in nutrition or as fitness trainers, and they have legitimate training that qualifies them to call themselves health coaches. But there are lots of people who have absolutely zero background in this kind of a thing. They just have found that they like how Optavia works for them, and now they're a health coach and they want to share that with you.
Yeah. Adrienne is not a health coach. That's why Adrienne has Angela. Come on. But it's true. I mean,
Adrienne's not. Yeah.
Adrienne is far from a health coach. Tell them how much water they should be drinking. Does everybody know this? Am I the only person that didn't know this? This water thing is exhausting. Anyway.
Well, unless you have a health condition that, somebody's told you need to limit how much water you drink. In general, your body needs, if you took your weight in pounds and divided that in half, that's about the number of ounces of water that would be good for you to be drinking every day. Now, if you're only drinking like a cup of water right now or no water, and you do that math and you come up with that you need to be drinking, 80 ounces or 100 ounces, it probably wouldn't be the best of ideas for you to try to like go from zero to that, tomorrow. I think it would be better to kind of make some incremental steps in that direction. Otherwise, you won't like how you feel very much. But you feel better when you have enough water. Like generally, we feel more tired. We struggle more with constipation. We struggle more with hunger when we're not drinking enough water.
And I've just tried to, I get up in the morning, I have a bottle of water before my coffee, I have a bottle of water before lunch, bottle of water before dinner, bottle of water before bed,
Mm-hmm.
bottle of water in the car, so I just kind of do it where I don't know, it's like, oh yeah, drink your water, which is mainly
Mm-hmm.
why I'm late taking
Yeah.
school because of coffee and water and phone and, all my stuff.
Yeah, and I think you just have to be intentional about it. Like you just have to, make a plan like what you've done, and then that's just kind of how you go about it. If it's kind of like your plan is like, oh, I'm gonna just generally sip on this all day long and I'll get to this amount, it probably won't happen for most people. But that's how I tend to drink my water too, is like in I call it chunks, but obviously it's water, so it's not a chunk. But like
Right.
in batches.
So some asked, they said, can unsweet tea be part of the water number?
If it doesn't have caffeine.
So no. You mean if
Well, I mean
somebody's
they
drinking
make decaf tea.
uncaffeinated? Why would you even drink that? I mean, I don't even know the purpose. It's like drinking.
I mean, generally it's better than some other things you could choose. But if you are drinking things with caffeine, caffeine is a diuretic, so you don't necessarily retain as much of that as you would if it was something that didn't have caffeine.
Okay. So if you have a bottle of water and you dump in a little packet of Crystal Light, does that count as your water?
That would be fine.
Oh. Last week we talked about aspartame, though. So I would encourage
Yeah.
you, become a subscriber so you can binge watch Angela's videos, or
Oh
just
gosh.
reach out to you just need advice. It's been so helpful, though. I mean, we've talked about healthy choices on vacation. We've talked about aspartame.
hmm
We've talked about perimenopause, weight stuff. We haven't talked about thyroid yet. We've talked about intermittent fasting. That was probably my favorite session we did. Anyway, I feel like we're all learning a lot. So
Yeah,
nice.
I think we should talk about thyroid soon. And then another thing I thought it would be helpful to talk about would be different types of weight loss surgeries. I know that's
Oh,
not the right thing for everybody, but I bet there's a lot of people who have questions about those. And so that might be something helpful to have some information about.
and Angela, where do you think we are? So what I found is that people are they still feel like weight loss surgery, medicine, like I'm taking Saxenda, like these are things that are kind of like you're cheating. And where does that come from? Is that come from like media of like, well, these people lost weight because they just cut back and these people did this? But even people I know have been like, oh, she's taking medicine, and I'm like, yeah, I
Well,
am.
I think it comes from some of the biases that we have in our society about weight. Is, we haven't looked at weight as being related to being a multifactorial process, and obesity being a disease state. We've looked at it as those people don't have self-control, or if they just ate less and moved more, they wouldn't be overweight. And so I think if that's your underlying bias, even about yourself, because sometimes we internalize those things, then you start to
Right.
think like, oh, well, if I really could just,
Uh,
follow this plan, or if it's my fault, it's something I'm doing wrong. And while absolutely your choices matter, and I don't have magic pills or a magic wand that I can fix things with, it takes, working together on things and making changes. But it's not, if it was easy and simple, we wouldn't have the problem we have in our country, right? And so I
mhm.
think people who kind of look at it that way, even maybe it's just subconsciously, have kind of internalized that bias of, that this is a problem of laziness or bad choices or gluttony or whatever it is, and that's why they kind of look at it that way.
Okay. Yeah, and I definitely felt that way myself. I mean, I just thought, and I think we come from families where, I would have my dad, who I adore, but he'd be like, well, I mean, just don't eat. I mean, it's like, that's being flippant, but being kind of serious too. Where I think now what I'm doing is my brain is not telling me eat, eat, eat all the time, which is super helpful. And as I feel healthier, I'm more motivated to drink water or to stop smoking or to not drink sugar and exercise. And you didn't say in the beginning, well, you got to do all these things and that's what you have to do. It was like, we're going to take baby steps. So it has been, you said we started talking in February. It's the middle of April. I'm down 15 pounds. So it has been a slower process than I have been used to in the past. But to me, it feels, I'm at a point where I know I can keep this up, and I love that. It's fine that it's slow.
Yeah.
I got nothing but, anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, the slower weight loss is going to be much easier to maintain than just some, really big rapid drop, for a whole bunch of reasons. But like you touched on about, your brain in the past saying eat, eat, eat. Like, I think it's worth knowing that, like, there's actually a hormone that's signaling your brain, that's telling you eat, eat, eat. It's not just that you don't have control over how much you eat, but like that whole process is driven by, hormones that are in the background, and that where we're working with medicines and surgeries is on fixing some of those things that are dysregulated.
Well, yes, let's touch on the surgery aspect next week and touch on what really I'm supposed to be eating. But before, I know you got to go because you have a meeting, but before we go, I will say I did our last video, or no, you weren't even on my video. I did a video this past week kind of talking about this a little bit, just randomly one morning. I was like, I want to talk. And one of my cousins, I have like 16 first cousins, but one of my favorite cousins messaged me and said, okay, I got to know about this stuff. Damn, or she said something like #damn genes. And I was like, yes, like she and I are genetically similar, and we all come from a line of people's brain hormone saying, eat, eat, eat. I mean, it is in my family, like it is a solid tree line. And so it was so fun to have her be like, okay, we're both in the same boat. Anyway, I just thought that was neat.
That's cool. I'll have to go back and find your video that I missed.
Yeah. Oh, whatever what I said. I can't remember. Well, thank you. And tell them to find you because they're going to ask 498 times.
So you can find me on Facebook or Instagram at LifelongNC. It's probably the easiest way. And then, from there you can message there. You can find my email or phone number, whatever is easier for you.
And I would encourage you to do it. It's been great for me, and I've really appreciated your time and help, Angela, because it has just made me so happy. Yesterday, I tried to put on some shorts in my closet, which they were sized. I would just like to say that. They're these corduroy shorts. Those things too small, but I was like, maybe they'll fit my. And if not, they never fit. That's okay. I'll pick your size and be happy. It's all right. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the chance to be a part of your journey. It is great seeing you happy.
Oh, well, I'm just annoyed that I've quit smoking. I know that makes you so happy. That makes me annoyed. Well, have a nice Easter. Subscribers, I'll be on in a minute with y'all to touch base. Okay. Bye, Angela.
Bye, y'all.
I mean, y'all, she is the real deal. And I will say, I I learned so much last year about, with this Dr. Stanford from Harvard. I mean, I felt like my mind had been blown when she was like, yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with you. Like, you're not the reason you're fat. Yes, you make bad choices, but like, your brain has a lot to do with these things. And I just was like, what? I always just thought Adrienne is lazy, she has no willpower, and she eats too much. But in that same line, I've always been like, I always ate too much. I've always eaten more food than I need. But what happened was, it's fine when I was younger. I was burning it up, I guess. And then I got older and I don't need all that food. But how do I tell my brain not to, you know? Anyway, so she's really helped. Medicine, I mean, I'm doing lots of things. And I think her clients are doing lots of things. I know she's seen my husband. He's not taking any medicine, but she's given him some suggestions. Just going down on my Zoloft, I think that really helped with the first 10 pounds. I've been on Zoloft for 12 years. I've never felt depressed, but my good friend Julianne one time called it, I don't kill my husband medicine. And I need an Angela in Iowa. So Shirley, if you live in another state, I think she said the link, maybe it's obesitymedicine.org, where you can find someone like her in your state to reach out to. Because sometimes our regular healthcare providers are not particularly, I've been to lots of doctors over my life, and I've never had anybody say, hey, let's talk about your weight and what we can do about it. It's like, you should exercise more. I mean, I'm fat as a pig. I'm too tired to exercise. That's what I want to say. I mean, I'm not saying it in a mean way, but it's just true. Anyway, it's been a great benefit of my subscriber group, I think, to have her on weekly, and we get to pick different topics and share. And anyway, it's been really nice. I've loved it, but I'm biased. Okay, subscribers. See y'all in a minute. Carry on, people, if you just need fun. This morning, we're going to be talking about someone who's sending me threatening messages, and their attorney is also sending me messages. The attorney hasn't quite mastered the English language, so I'm a little bit suspicious. Carry on, people.